What's up? It's your boy Daquan back in here with another build video. Today we have the update for the Gunboy Flak build, one of my favorite crit Flak builds, and a lot of people have been enjoying it just as much. We have an update for it today, and with me, of course, we have...
Alright, I'm here. What's up?
So there's going to be a few things that we ended up tweaking, not too much for the loadout at all. The loadout for the last one was very, very good. It might be close to perfect, but we're going to go ahead and provide you with a few more options. What I'm going to go ahead and do is highlight some of the things inside the build already that may not have been highlighted too well in the last video, as well as talk about the skill tree switch up and then also the stack bot and why we're actually not running it inside the setup in its current form. So the main gun that we have inside the setup is actually the Stagecoach. So it's kind of a combination of the Maggie and the Brainstormer to a certain extent in its role inside the build. It's able to do pretty good AoE damage. It's going to blow about 2 or 3 different people up inside of a good fadeaway shot. And then it's able to do really good single target damage. The advantage that this has over the Maggie in particular is that it has the 25 pellets. Using it in combination with Megavore and Head Count is going to give us back a ton of cooldown. And then Leave No Trace is going to give us back a good amount of ammo. Be able to get like nice little infinite damage loops going in. And then the head count proc, since the last bullet of fadeaway is going to go ahead and end your fadeaway, and then your bullets are going to hit a target and then ricochet. Those ricochet bullets and then potentially the original bullets that end up hitting the target, depending on how far away you are from them, are going to end up giving you back the cooldown. And then sometimes you're going to be able to go ahead and get right back inside of fadeaway immediately, which is something super duper phenomenal. It happens more times than not actually if you are in a decent little group of enemies. So inside of our second slide, we actually are running a Brainstormer. So the reason why we do run these two inside of the setup in conjunction is because the Brainstormer is really good for eating through those shields. You're doing a whole lot of shock damage. And then also for those enemies that are kind of high maneuverability and are in like groups of enemies, you're able to just shoot at one of those targets that are on the ground or that's closer to that target that you can't actually hit and just eat through that enemy very, very easily, very, very smoothly. And it just works well in conjunction with each other because it is a shotgun as well, and you can find roles that boost shotguns, and Brainstorm is just good in general. So you guys are probably already familiar with that. So for the third slide of the build, or something that you can run inside of it, we actually have a couple of really good options. And our main gun that we were running inside the slot was the Hedgehog. It's basically a quickie. They're essentially the same things, except for the Hedgehog has better base values. And you utilize this in the sticky mode in order to blow up enemies very, very easily. It is fantastic for bossing. You will see it just pop anybody, really. It's an amazing gun. Hedgehog, Quickie both work well. And then with the new DLC, we actually got the Ion Cannon, aka the Randy Cannon. And then anything that it sees, you can just actually blow up. It has amazing base values. And you guys are probably already familiar with this thing. It just pops anything. So you can utilize this in several different ways. You can utilize it to just pop a boss, or you can end up getting overkill, and you can just one-shot pretty much everything, to be honest. I don't know how long this is going to be in the game at its current state, and by the time that you see this, it might not be as high quality, but this thing it just obliterates, I guess. If fun is detected, it obliterates it, so it's a fantastic cannon, and we have that inside of our third slot. So for our fourth slot, you can run anything that you really do want to run. Sometimes I run a ion cannon. So for this particular run, I did double ion cannon. I did 1 corrosive, 1 shock. For the one fight, you can run a lump like we did before. That is a fantastic gun for blowing through groups of enemies. So inside the setup, we are using turn, tail, and run, which means that if we are standing still, we get 25% more damage. And when we do end up utilizing that with the lump, we have to stand still throughout the whole duration of the charge until it actually is released, or else you will not be able to get that benefit. Now we have the shield. So the shield, you actually have 3 different really good choices. So stopgap is one of the ones that I use more often. So a cool combination with fadeaway is that utilizing the stopgap, it has the effect that on shield break, become immune to any damage taken for 5 seconds. We're all familiar with this. But utilizing fadeaway, we're able to stay invisible for long enough for the shield to recharge completely, which means that we're going to be able to stack those immune effects or get those back to back, which is just going to allow us just to glide through content, we'll be able to play it pretty smoothly, and inside those 5 seconds of time, we're able to just go full aggro if we really do want to. So it's a fantastic shield for the setup. You can rock the stopgap. I've had amazing results with that. You can rock the transformer, one of the better shields for the Maliwan Takedown in particular. Works out well other places as well. And then also the new Rico shield. So the new Rico shield works out super duper well. So inside the one fight, the Rico shield didn't feel super duper fantastic. Everywhere else, it felt amazing. Still was able to complete the raid rocking the Rico shield the whole time. So it is a fantastic option for this build. And inside the one fight, as long as you like micro the strikers a little bit, or just, you know, play around and get your maneuverability right, you should be relatively fine rocking the Rico shield. So the Cosmic Stalker. So the Cosmic Stalker is what we're actually running inside the setup. It has an amazing boost to the hunt skill power that we have inside this tree, and we're getting a whole lot of value from this. So with this, we can hop into why this build actually does not have the stack bot added into the mix, even though like some of the guns inside the setup seem like it would be so amazing with it. It would be if the stack bot actually worked the right way or worked the way that it was supposed to work. So it has a couple different issues. We'll talk about one of the newer ones that I found out about and people have already been posting about it. So Hollow Point actually ends up resetting the stack bot. And so using just cryo or using kinetic, you're still going to run into Hollow Point effects at some times. And then this is going to be a thing that kind of makes this class mod seem a little different to different people. And so the people that don't have this thing unlocked already, they're probably being all right with it. They're probably like just breezing through with it. It's probably okay for them. Dot effects also reset the class mod, which is something relatively big. I've been hearing about pet damage resetting the class mod. Now, this is something that I have not found conclusive stuff on myself. I do have a little video of it, and you can see that in here, Kevin is getting hit, and I'm able to shoot him. This is a Lucky 7 with crit rolled, so I'm 100% getting those crits. And then like the stats are resetting along the way. And so looking at that, it kind of seems like pet damage just resets it straight out the back. And then we go ahead and wait a little bit longer, and we see that it's actually not resetting. I played around with it a little bit and tried to see if the extra projectiles from the people inside the ship were resetting it, but that wasn't the case. I wanted to see if there was like some type of collision event with them that was messing it up. I wanted to see if there was like the elemental aspect of it that was messing it up. And it's just weird because it was resetting sometimes, and then later on it didn't reset at all. So I'm pretty undecided on it. People were saying that pet damage does reset it, but I'm not sure. It could be something that is iffy and does happen for some people and doesn't for others. Kind of like some of the other bugs inside this game. There are a couple of different ways that you can use the stack bot though, even though there are a good little amount of interactions that aren't net positive for most setups. So you can actually shoot off the stagecoach 2 times inside a fadeaway, then use your last shot and blow up a target with like any type of launcher or a ion cannon or something like that. I mentioned that inside of the last video as well. And then another method that you can actually go ahead and do is utilize the stagecoach. And then and this is for both of them, if you can avoid like the little random pet damage thing that may have just occurred, and if you can avoid the hollow point issue, then the stagecoach will be able to do like a nice little infinite loop and keep the damage up really, really well. And then you have this right here, which is actually just extremely strong, regardless of any type of interactions. Just use the stack bot with a lucky 7 and just roll for crit and roll for the 7 pellets, and it just eats everything. It's there's nothing more to say about it. So Mitosis Hunter Seeker. So we've had this inside set up. This has the nice little ASC on it, which gives us bonus damage. So the thing about this, while we're using the Stagecoach, a majority of the time, you're able to throw this thing out, and not only is it going to allow you to get a little bit of ammo back in combination with Leave No Trace, it's also going to give you those stacks of Furious Attack, which means that you're able to get your damage ramped up very, very easily. You can throw this thing from a distance. As long as it ends up shooting the enemies, you'll get those stacks up. You just fly through the content. You don't have to use it at all. Most of the time, I actually don't end up using it, and that's kind of inefficient. But if you do end up using it, you'll be able to see a slight increase in results. And then you can, of course, use this in combination with the Quickie, with the Ion Cannon to proc the Leave No Trace procs in combination with Megavore, which means that you're going to be able to get that ammo back. You'll be able to chain those different shots from those two different guns and do a whole lot of work. So last stand Victory Rush, that just means that we're going to have more vulnerability inside the kit, have something to catch us when we are in a rough situation. We have the shotgun damage on it. The action skill cooldown rate works out very well for the setup because we're kind of looping it. It may seem like it's a little redundant, and it kind of is, but the closer we are to having our next fadeaway, the better. Just means that everything flows a little bit smoother, and then we have the HP regeneration on the kit, which just helps us out quite a bit. It adds a whole lot of value. So just try to find one that is last stand, or try to find one that is auto idle, or you can find last stand Victory Rush, last stand auto idle. Any combination of those should work out relatively well. And then of course things that have better rolls on it and better combinations are going to work really, really well for you. So your final optimized loadout can look a couple of different ways. Rock the Stagecoach and the Brainstormer, as well as double ion cannon, or you can rock the old one, which we have. This is the second way, and this was the original way that we ended up having to set up. It still works perfectly. It just allows you to get a few more options, and then of course if you don't have a good Stagecoach, just switch this out for a Maggie, and you'll be good to go. So we're gonna let Rator finish up in a little bit and go ahead and talk about one of the point differences that we ended up making inside the build. Ended up like switching some things around, but in the meantime, just give you guys the quick rundown for the people that are unfamiliar with how the general build ends up working. You utilize Leave No Trace in combination with Megavore to give you really good ammo supply, as well as head count in combination with Megavore on something like the Stagecoach, as well as the Brainstormer, which is going to allow you to get a whole lot of damage out, as well as getting your cooldown back really, really fast. And the rest of it, we're just kind of maxing on damage where we can. One of the options that we did end up switching up is Hunter's Eye and Two Fang, which we'll hop into in a little bit. And Rator covers that portion. Max out big game, max out most dangerous game, all the other good stuff. And we'll go over to here. 3 points of self-repair system has worked out fantastic for me, kept me alive really, really well. Maxed out Fierce Attack. All my BFFs at 3, it works out very well, especially inside of the more aggressive roles, such as 2 additional projectiles or 40% more enemy weapon damage is actually how that works. Yeah, 40% more enemy weapon damage. It works out pretty well inside of those situations. And then lick the wound so that we were able to get picked back up. Turn, tail, and run. We talked about this a little bit earlier. A little bit more gun damage as well as health regeneration and damage reduction when we are moving. The fast and the furious. Those 2 points allow you to have a little bit more mobility, which helps out quite a bit inside of different situations. Max out on Hidden Machine. Hidden Machine is placed a little bit differently inside the map, so we're getting a whole lot of value from this 30%. And then the Not My Circus, so that way we're able to chain a nice taunt effect. It's going to keep us alive and kind of make us pseudo Gamma Bursty. And because our pet is going to be able to tank and just be an absolute monster. And then Unblinking Eye, so that way we're able to do a whole lot of damage with our crits. And our fadeaway is up majority of the time. That means we're going to be able to get these amped up numbers very, very often. As well as Megavore comes through. But yeah, we'll let Rator, or Ratore, as my man is saying out here, we'll let him wrap up with some of the different options that we opted for. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and take it away with the skills.
Alright, for the red tree, we actually dropped the pointing Hunter's Eye. The reason for this is, and we've known this for some time, is that Hunter's Eye is quite bugged right now. Armor damage and crit damage are lower than they should be. I don't know about the damage reduction, but that one doesn't matter as much. But it's still a nice skill to have on the raid or against bosses, because of those bonuses when you're using a bounty hunter class mod, will actually make bosses count as humans, robots, and beasts. So you get the damage and crit damage and the damage reduction. But even then, In any other situation, we are better off having two things. And for bossing too, because of our rocket launchers, which will end up adding another projectile to them, making, at least on the hedgehogs, nearly a 50% damage increase when we actually get the extra projectile. So it ends up being a bit more important than Hunter's Eye. And with this change, we end up having two free points. They can be used in Hunter's Eye or Second Intention or Green Harvest. Even Ambush Predator is a valid choice because the trigger distance is actually quite lenient, but we don't have an icon for it yet. So even though Gearbox said they added one, it wasn't added. So yeah, that's it for the red tree.
Oh boy, killing it.
For the green tree, it actually didn't change much, but there's a valid change that can be made, and it's mostly preference, which is putting the 2 points that are in Fast and Furious into Persistence Hunter on the blue tree, and that's only if you want the extra duration for fadeaway, or if you like using gorillas for some reason. That's a valid choice, and even then, if you want your anointments to trigger sooner, you're better off not using Persistence Hunter with Gorillas. So yeah, there's a choice to make there. You can experiment to your liking. And for the normal fadeaway, the extra duration can be helpful too, just because you can dictate your pace during it even more. So yeah, it's mostly a preference thing. Fast and Furious will give you some movement speed, which is kind of nice. So it's still quite a nice choice.
That's it, Bobash.
And that's it for the green tree and the skill trees as a whole.
And that is it for the video, amigos. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic Christmas if this video does end up going out on Christmas. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic day if you guys end up seeing it on whatever day that you are, seeing it on. Hopefully you guys were able to get some good information out of it, especially my people that already seen the other version of it or the previous version of it. This is just a slight update. Hopefully there were some tips or something in there that was of value to you guys. If you guys have any comments about anything at all, go and let me know. And yeah, I am out of here. Adios, amigos.